Hi guys, and welcome to another video from Stupid is the Norm, the channel where we demonstrate how to become a millionaire in 10 years on minimum wage. And in this video I want to talk to you about serviced accommodation. Well, in the previous video I told you that I had to change strategy temporarily at least, from pure buy-to-lets into serviced accommodation, and I wanted to talk you through first of all what serviced accommodation is and then go through the pros and cons. I've been pushed into doing this because it's now October 2022 and interest rates have risen tremendously from the historic low which they've been at. Recently I came off a 2-year fixed mortgage, and the best deal I could get to remortgage it took the monthly mortgage payment from £87 a month up to £208, which obviously impacts profit and impacts income, and which in turn impacts my ability to reinvest and buy further property. So I needed to do something that increased the income potential of the properties I'm buying, and that's why I chose serviced accommodation. So if you've not heard of serviced accommodation before, what it is short-term letting. You'll be used to, when you get a buy-to-let property, taking something on an assured short-hold tenancy which lasts for 6 months, so your tenant is in there for 6 months and paying rent during that time. On a serviced accommodation they might only be in for a weekend, and I guess in its simplest form, if you think about Airbnb, where you'd book someone's house to stay in for a weekend whilst you're visiting friends, relatives, or a particular city. And so it's in its most efficient form, however, is not to be used as Airbnb, but to be used to rent out in short-term contracts to contractors. So people who are working in that area and are going to be there for 2 or 3 months at a time and want somewhere to stay in a house rather than stay in a hotel. So why would someone pay to stay in a serviced accommodation? Well, because it's pretty much like a house. If you're borrowing somebody's house, it has all the things you'd have in your own home, like the bed linen gets changed for you, you've got white goods, fridges, freezers, cookers. You treat it essentially like your home. The good thing is you charge more for it. So typically I would charge £550 for a month on a buy-to-let, but on a serviced accommodation you can charge £100 a night plus. So Perry, why should anybody pay £100 a night when they can get a buy-to-let for £550? Well, that's because they don't want a 6-month letting agreement. They just want to be there for maybe 1, 2, 3 months. So let's say they're guys who are working on a building site, but they've moved them from down south to up north where the building is, and rather than put them in a hotel and pay them £100 a night each to stay in a hotel with bed, breakfast and evening meal, it's cheaper to put 3 of them into one house and pay £100 a night to put the 3 of them in there, and they can look after themselves. It's just maths. So it's a no-brainer for the guy who's paying for these contractors staying there, because it saves him 60% of what he would pay to put them all in a hotel. So let's look at the pros and cons of serviced accommodation, because there are downsides and upsides to owning such a property. So let's deal with the cons first. I'm going to need a different type of house. You know, the sort of post-war mid-terrace property isn't going to be suitable because there's lots of competition for serviced accommodation. The competition's there because they make such money from it. So you need a different type of house, something like newish, a new build, perhaps modern townhouse, laminate floors, clean lines, nice bathroom, nice kitchen, all of which means it's a bigger house, it's going to need a bigger mortgage and a bigger deposit. Now you're going to have to furnish it, which you don't do the buy-to-let. I typically rent my buy-to-lets out just as a shell, and the person who's moving in brings with them their own white goods if necessary. Often I have fridges and freezers in there. But the more things you put in there, the more things you've got to maintain. So I try to leave them with nothing in, and the tenant moves in, brings all their own stuff. Not so with a serviced accommodation. You have to provide all that. So it's like someone's house. It's a hotel with all the amenities. So you've got things you wouldn't normally consider, and they're all extra costs. Things like bed linen, fridge, freezers, cleaning equipment. May even put some food in there, short-term food if it's an Airbnb, for cups of soup and that sort of thing. Nothing expensive. But it's all extra. Then it has to be managed. Someone has to come in and clean it as well. So these are all extra costs that you wouldn't have to have in a normal buy-to-let. Then there's the bills. Typically in a buy-to-let you don't pay the bills, the tenant pays the bills. But on a serviced accommodation you're on the hook. So you've got the council tax to pay. Gas and electricity, look how much they've gone up. So there's extra risk and extra cost there. So as well as all the extra stuff you have to put in there, which I think is going to cost me another £10,000, you're on the hook for all these extra bills as well. So whilst before I was buying a property and all my acquisition costs would come to £20,000, I think it's going to cost me £40,000 to get into a serviced accommodation. because, for instance, the mortgage is greater. You need a commercial mortgage. Some people don't use a commercial mortgage. Some people get a normal buy-to-let mortgage and then use it as serviced accommodation, but you're in breach of your contract if you do that. Just beware. So you need a commercial mortgage, which is going to cost you more money as well. So there's the mortgage gone up as well. So all these are extra costs. And then you've got to make it easier for people to find. So you need to find websites that promote Airbnbs or short-term accommodation. Maybe you have to build your own website, which is again is another cost. Now it all sounds a bit iffy and think, my God, Perry, is it absolutely worth it? So, okay, let's look at the pros. Well, this is going to be super quick because there's only really one, and that's the money. And that is the reason we do all this. It's for the money. So typically, I'm charging over £100+ a night, whereas I'm getting £550 a month on a buy-to-let. You've got to guess at some sort of occupancy rate, so let's say it's 80 or 90%, and I'm charging over £100 a night, then I should be at least getting, after management costs and advertising costs, getting at least £1,300 a month, and maybe anything up to £2,000. So I'm getting probably 3 or 4 times what I would from a normal buy-to-let. So to me, the extra time it takes to save the extra money, I'm going to need 40,000, not the 20,000, is worth it, because I'd have to buy 4 buy-to-lets at £20,000 acquisition cost each. That's £80,000. Now the only drag on this is that it's going to take me more time to do it. And what I feel about that is that it does feel like the project stalling, but I have to remind myself that it's all about the money, Perry. It's all about the income, and the extra 6 months or so it's taking you to work and save up will be worth it, because more money will be flowing in, hopefully, and then you'll be able to buy more properties faster. Will it work? There are no guarantees. There never are they? Not in any investment in business, whether it be stocks and shares or in this case in property. But rest assured, I'll be recording all of my progress as I go, all the warts and all, if you wish, anything that goes wrong, anything that goes right. And videos to come, I'm going to shoot the explanation of the limited company I'm going to use, because it's not a normal limited company. You can just go on Company's House and set up a limited company for less than 20 quid. This one's going to cost me £2 grand, and I want to show you how I'm doing that as well. So there are videos in the future. In the meantime, don't be stupid and don't be normal, guys.